Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're continuing the adventures of Johnnykin and the Goblins, and obviously he's just come out of the Dark Tower. So let's continue. Johnnykin found himself in a very shady road, but into which the moonlight often shone through gaps in the trees. Somehow it seemed as if it must be always moonlight there. He walked on and came to high rocks, and then to a more open country. But there seemed to be something strange in everything. The breeze blowing in the branches almost played tunes. The leaves, as they rustled, giggled and tittered like little girls, and whispered words. And Johnnykin was quite sure that he heard, "That's Johnnykin, he," and Marjolaine many times, and the rocks looked like all things of all kinds, like queer old houses and towers stuck all over the little towers, like decanters and vases and every kind of enormous toy and animal he had ever heard of, but all in weather-worn stone. At last he passed by a great pile of books, every one 20 yards long, and this put him in mind of the one which the monk had given him. The moon was so bright that he could see every letter, so he walked along reading, and this was the first sentence of the first chapter. After this boy, whose name was Johnnykin, had left the Dark Tower, he came to a right fair road, where he began to read in his book. And when he looked up, he saw by the roadside 5 men who were brothers. Their names were Corporal Thumbkin, Foreman, Longman, Ringman, and Little Man. Here he stopped reading, and looking up, really saw 5 men standing on a rock by the road. They seemed in the moonlight to be all of one piece with the rock. They looked, too, as if they were all solid pieces themselves, without arms or legs, and they were staring steadily at him in the moonlight. "Are you Corporal Thumbkin?" said Johnnykin, to the one who seemed to be their chief. Thumbkin bowed, but very oddly, for it was backwards, and then he leaned forwards, staring as steadily as he had done before. "And you are Foreman," said Johnnykin to the second, "and you Longman, and you Ringman and Littleman." As he spoke, they all bowed in the same way, backwards. "That's a odd way for you to have of your bowing," said Johnnykin. "Oh, we can do it the other way, if you like," said Foreman. With this, the rock and the 5 men instantly turned around, and as they did, so their faces all went to the other side of their heads, and they bowed very low indeed. "Well, of all the odd things," said Johnnykin. "What's odd?" replied Ringman. "Did you never make little faces with pen and ink on your fingers in school time?" he added, in a pretty awful voice, "when you ought to have been at your lessons?" "Yes," answered Johnnykin. "Sometimes on the nails, sometimes on the t'other side," said Longman, sinking his voice to somewhat of a whisper eventually. "Yes." "And you put little paper caps on 'em?" "Yes." "Then you were doing us," remarked Ringman sternly. "And you don't think the hour of vengeance would approach, and the wind would blow, and the feathers would go, and we be on hand?" "I should think," said Johnnykin, "that you would always be on hand." "I say, is that a joke?" asked Corporal Thumbkin. in a startled, anxious manner, and stooping down towards Johnnykin. Yes, replied Johnnykin very stoutly. A real joke, such as people laugh at. Could we laugh at it, do you think? Ever so much? Yes, as much as you please. He says we may laugh, said Thumbiekin, with his mouth half open, and both eyes and mouth wearing a wild and startled look. And as much as we please. I say, let's laugh. But start fair. Now, 1, 2, 3. Saying this, the whole five burst into such peals of laughter as Johnnykin had never heard in all his life. They screamed and roared with delight. They all bent themselves double into a clenched fist. They howled and yelled, as if in agony of fun. Then they began again, twisting about and jumping up and down. Johnnykin began to fear they would laugh themselves to death when he thought of looking into his book, and then he read. Now these 5 men would have laughed on forever, but not Johnnykin said, Stop! Stop! He cried. The 5 brothers stood up, as grave and stupid as ever. We never heard a joke before in all our lives, said Thumbiekin. I once heard part of one, he added, and we always did, all our laughing us. After this, we shall always laugh at your joke instead. I say, he added anxiously, it'll keep, won't it? Yes, as long as you choose to keep it. We'll have it on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays from 12 till 10, and then a little bit of it before going to bed. That won't be too much, will it? Not if you like it, replied Johnnykin. Goodbye. Goodbye, they cried, all bowing together, and then stood up with the moonshine full on their flat, stupid frames and faces. As Johnnykin walked on, he saw a rock like a very queer house. The roof was like a great copy book in one part, and an atlas in another. There was an inkstand for a chimney, out of which smoke kept coming in the shape of a pen. And there were, in the garden, other ink stores for flower pots, and in these pen-shaped flowers were growing out of them. There was a tower like a ruler, and a row of slate pencils before it. The walls of the house were geographics and arithmetics and Latin and French grammar, and the door was an immense slate in an actual frame. Oh dear, said Johnnykin, here's some more school. As he stopped, he saw all kinds of queer figures hopping out of the slate. They began dancing and frisking about like little monkeys before him. They were slaty grey in colour, though, and Johnnykin thought he had seen them all before. One was very badly shaped, robber or brigand bobbing a sword. He rushed up to Johnnykin and cried, Boo! And that's the end of that part, guys. When we get back, it's the brigand and Johnnykin, I guess. We continue where we left off onto that one. Thank you for listening and many blessings.